everyone, this is going to be the first video I'll be making a little series on how to build a castle in Minecraft. As you see here, I've already designed and built one, and I'll be taking you through steps and design processes on how to recreate this, or at least in the style you see here. So, the first thing you're going to want to do before you even place a single block is plan out your castle. Whether if it's in Minecraft itself with colored concrete, or in MS Paint, or even in your head, you're going to want at least a rough idea of what your castle is going to look like. Before you start building, I do suggest that you build the main castle on a small hill, just to give it that extra height and to really emphasize it as the focal point of your build. You're going to want to start off by building a 9x9 square that is 32 blocks tall, out of stone. This is going to be the basis that we are going to work off of. As you see here, I will be using Word Edit in this tutorial, so if you're building this in survival, you can't do that, unless you cheat. But first, I'll be adding the parapets to the top of this castle. If you didn't know, parapets are the little fortifications you see, and yes, I did have to look that up. I do make a mistake here. They're supposed to be 1 block taller, and you're going to want to have a repeating pattern of cobblestone wall and smooth andesite. I do add a little extra detail to the corners to give it the extra height. And right here, you see I am adding a little like an upside down spike of smooth andesite under the parapets to make it look like this stone fortification was already here and these people have come and took it over to build a castle out of. I do make a mistake here. It's supposed to be a little bit, I made them a little bit too big, so I do shave them down here as you see. The key here is to try to make it as organic as possible. Have it converge near the middle, but not always directly in the center, and you want to avoid straight diagonal lines. Now next, as you see here, I am texturing these andesite with stone, and I do add smooth andesite to the pillar to make it look like it's more integrated. Now next, we will be adding the spike near the bottom of our stone pillar. This is to give it extra shape, and to make it look like this castle has been eroded over time after heavy use. The key, again, is to try to make it as organic as possible. You're going to want to avoid straight diagonal lines, and you want to have it converge near the middle, but not always directly in the center. I do adjust the size and shape of these because I do mess up a little bit. I think I do make them a little bit taller near the end. So if you're building alongside me, take that in consideration. You probably want to build them a little bit taller than I did. Now you're gonna want, and as you see here, I do make this on each side, and so you will want to do the same. Now one thing you can do is knock out the corners. As you see here, I do knock them out to make it really look like they converge at the corners, and you're gonna want to do the same here again. So we're gonna have 2 layers of spikes, and as you see here, I do realize I make a mistake. I make them a little bit taller. So, if you didn't do that, you probably want to do that now. Okay, now, as you see here, you're going to want to do the same thing as the first layer with the second stone spike. Maybe make them a little bit less pointy and have it a little bit less, and have them a more shallow of an angle. But again, you're going to want to keep it as organic as possible. Really try to avoid straight diagonal lines, and have it converge near the middle, but not directly in the center. And we're going through the castle. Oops. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm going to texture the castle with andesite. I will texture it with another one, stone brick, but right here with andesite, since it looks a lot like stone, you can be a little bit more liberal with how you place it and kind of just go crazy and place it everywhere. You're going to want to make big patches of andesite, and one thing you can do is have it overlap with a spike in like the wall behind it to make it look like it's more integrated with the castle. And right here with the stone brick, you're going to be a little bit more conservative with it because it doesn't look as similar as andesite does to stone. So small patches, 1 to 2 blocks, and you're going to want to have around like 6 to 9 of them on each side. Now next, what I'm gonna do is add a stone half slab to our spikes, just to give it that extra shape that it kind of needs, and to give it more variation between each side. And I do knock out the corners near the top to give it that extra shape it needs, and I also do add stone staircases to make it look like there's little indents into each castle, but make sure you don't overdo that. Around 2 to 3 on each side is good. And at the bottom, I do add andesite, kind of like rubble, like stone that has fallen off from the castle over years and years of use. And they're around 2 to 3 blocks tall. Really use that half slab to your advantage. And they're around like 2 layers deep. So as you see here, it really looks like stone rubble, and also gives that little lining to make it look a lot more sturdy than it really is. And one thing I really love is to add ore to the bottom of this, because again, this is like a stone formation that's already been here and people have taken it over, so adding ore to the bottom really emphasizes that idea. And I do add, or I do change the ground to be stone. Obviously you're going to want to make it a lot bigger than this, because it's kind of weird to have this big stone castle on some grass, so you probably want to change that. And you can add andesite and coal to the bottom of that. But all that being all said, this is pretty much the final product. I do add some windows here out of iron bars. The bottom window is 10 blocks from the ground, and the top one is 10 blocks from the bottom window. But other than that, this is pretty much complete. I do add some andesite, food andesite slabs to the bottom of the parapets. Likewise to the first tower, I will start off by building the parapets. The pathway between each tower would be 19 blocks long and 5 blocks wide. I do have a little bit more of an intricate design for the parapets on the wall to give it that extra detail, and I will copy it to the other side. I do make a little bit of a mistake here. You should probably make the pathway 1 block lower than I did, so you'll see me fix that in a bit. And there you go, see, yeah, I fixed that. You can add the doorway right there. Again, I'm using World Edit, so don't cheat. I know you want to, but don't do that. And I copied it to the other side. Now right here, you're just going to want to make a wall all the way down. And again, this is going to be the bases we're going to be working off of, just like the first tower. And like the first tower, again, we're going to make an upside down spike from the bottom of the parapets. This time, just make it out of stone, and we can texture in the andesite a little bit later in. You're going to want to fiddle with the shape. Make sure you really get it right, and you can add those half slabs to give that extra detail like I did. But make sure you really get the shape of these spikes right. Again, really try to avoid straight diagonal lines, and have it converge near the center, but not directly in the middle. And as you see here, I am doing it for the bottom spike as well. We are going to have another layer of the bottom spike. We're going to put one more, just like that. And you're going to want to use half slabs to give it that extra shape. And you can always go back and change the shape and fiddle with it just to make it look more natural and less like someone placed all the blocks layer. And as you see there, I went up the top. You're going to want to slowly have the andesite kind of fade into the wall lower. The first layer should have like almost all andesite, the second one a little bit more, and the third one like I'll have almost no andesite there. And now right here, I'm going to be texturing the wall with andesite, or like rough andesite, as well as stone bricks. Again, you can be a little bit more liberal with the andesite, but I'll be a lot more conservative with the stone bricks. Small patches, 1 to 3 blocks big, and you want to have a little bit more of a consistent spacing between them. Likewise to the tower, you're going to have a pile of smooth andesite at the bottom, almost like it's fallen rubble from all the years of use. And really use those half slabs to your advantage. I do change the ground to stone, just like the tower, because it is a little weird to have a big stone castle on some grass. And again, you can texture the ground with andesite and coal to make it look like it's really built into the surroundings. And I do cheat here a little bit. This is the second time I'm building this thing, so if you don't mind, I'm just gonna copy paste this tower to the other side. I do have a little bit of trouble here. I haven't really used world edit in a little bit, so. And I do want to fix up the edges here. As you see, you're gonna want to have a slow integration between the side of the castle to the wall. So you can fix that up. And again, just like the towers, you can add the stone stairs to give it those little indentations. Make it look like it's really worn out. And I have to rebuild this. I do, since it got cut off and the copy paste. Now obviously, if you're building this in creative, I don't know why you would, but like if you're building this in creative, you can definitely copy paste it and just kind of make small variations. But when I originally built this, I built them all from fresh, which is probably not the best idea. So take it from me, you can just copy paste pretty much a lot of these and then just make small variations to make it look like it's not all the same. Now over here, I just add the stone to the bottom of this tower as well. In the time-lapse, I totally forgot to put the cobblestone walls on top of this, so if you haven't done that, you should probably do that now. So yeah, that's my bad. Oops. And everything should be good now. So in this time-lapse, we'll be building the back 2 towers. And as you see here, I'm just gonna copy paste the wall. So obviously you'll just have to recreate it, but you get the gist. It's the same deal. But for this tutorial, I'm just gonna copy paste because, well, it's the second time I'm building, like I said. If you don't mind me, I might be cheating here a little bit, but you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys get the idea. So with the back tower, it's very similar to the front 2 towers. Same 9x9, but instead of 32 blocks tall, it's going to be 43 blocks tall. And instead of having 2 layers of spikes at the bottom, or indents, it's going to be 3 layers. So, like the front 2 towers, we're going to be using this pillar as our basis to work off of, and we're going to be starting with the parapets. And it's exactly the same as the front 2. Layer of smooth andesite, and then a repeating pattern of smooth andesite and cobblestone wall on top of that, with a little extra height in the corners. And it's exactly the same as the front 2. I have a little upside down spike with the smooth andesite and smooth andesite slabs. And one thing that is different from these spikes than the bottom ones is try to make them a little bit more rounded, not as sharp. And you're gonna want to texture in with stone, as well as texture the smooth andesite into the wall behind it. And you're gonna want to do this on all 4 sides. So right here, we're going to be starting the first spike, and it should be roughly it should roughly end at the wall height. And we're going to bring that all the way down. You can really fiddle with the shape of it. If you don't get it right the first time, that's okay. Really try to get the shape right, because that's what really matters. Use those half slabs to give it more shape, and to differentiate it from the other spikes. And right here for the third spike, it should be the height. So these 2 spikes, the front 2 spikes, should be the same height as the other 2 spikes on the first 2 towers that we did. This time, you only have to do this for the outer 2 walls, because these inner 2 walls are gonna be attached to walls, and obviously you don't have to do that. Really try to make each spike unique from another one. Try not to have repeating patterns. And in the corner, you're going to want to integrate it so everything looks smooth and isn't jarring to the eye, as well as between the tower and the wall. Have everything naturally kind of flow from one to another. And as we go through the castle, I am just going to copy paste the wall again. It's the same. It's the same thing, so you guys get the idea. And now we're going to texture the side of the tower with andesite, same as the wall and the first 2 towers. And you're going to want to put in that stone brick as well as those stairs. And the top window should be 10 blocks taller than the second window. And those should be the same height as the windows of the front 2 towers. And as I said before, you can be more liberal with the andesite, but be a little bit more conservative with the stone bricks. And one thing I did forget to do in this time lapse is add the stairs onto the side of the castle. So if you guys want to do that, you probably should. I do fix it later on, but I do forget in this time lapse, so that's one extra detail you guys can do. And one more thing, you guys can knock out the corners to give it that extra shape and give it more wear and tear. Try to have it at different heights and different lengths. Just like the other tower and walls, we'll be adding the smooth andesite to the bottom. Really use the slabs, and you can texture in the colon as well. One thing I haven't said yet is try to have it peak near the middle as well, and then thin out near the corners, just so it kind of matches the rise and fall of the spikes we have against the tower. And just like everything else, I'll change the ground to stone. Now, you guys can laugh at me here. Really do struggle with this world edit and this copy paste. So, yeah, it's not great. I finally get it there. So right here, on the inside, I'm just cleaning everything up because it makes everything a lot easier to work in when you're doing interior. So if you guys want to see interior, you guys can tell me, but for this video, we'll just be doing the exterior of the tower. Now, in the middle of the castle, there's a lot more you can do. So right here, I'm gonna just make a floor that's 5 blocks lower than the top of the wall. And I'll put a building in the middle for like ammunition and like, guns and stuff. But there's a lot more you can do. So I will be making that building in this video. But if you want to do something else, that's totally fine. Or you can leave it empty. Looks fine without something in the middle. Now, on the inside of the wall, we're gonna go for a little bit of a different design. As you see right here, I kind of struggle for a bit. But what we're gonna do is, instead of having one big kind of spike, we're gonna have more of like a wave pattern. Around 3 kind of rise and falls is good. And like with the other spikes, we're gonna texture in that andesite and stone bricks. And you're going to do it on all 4 sides. I have another PSA. I totally forgot to put the windows on this side, on these sides of the castle. So, yeah, that's my bad again. So, there you go. In this time lapse, we will be building a bridge between the back 2 towers. As always, we will be starting with the parapet design, using that smooth andesite and cobblestone wall. And you're going to want to fill in the path between the 2 towers. And repeat the parapet design on the other side. So right here, you'll be seeing the archway that will go underneath the bridge, and you can copy this design. It's supposed to be like a gradual kind of slope that steepens near the edges. And of course, you're going to want to do on both sides. So you will want to build this out of smooth andesite, and we'll texture in the stone, andesite, and stone bricks later. Now right here, you're going to want to leave it mostly smooth andesite, especially near the top, but as it gets further down, you can texture in that stone, that andesite, and the stone bricks. But really try to keep it mostly smooth andesite. Now at the bottom, we're going to want to rough up the bridge a little bit. You can replace some of the stairs with blocks and some of the smooth andesite with stone, and kind of just like put half slabs near the bottom, just to make this bridge look a little bit more worn down. Now as a final touch, you're going to want to put cobblestone walls kind of hanging from the bottom of the bridge, just to give it that extra detail and make it really look rugged and roughed down. And the last thing I want to do is put some windows in. Now, like I've said before, you can really put anything in the space, but in this video, I'm just going to have an ammunition site building. But it's really up to you on what you want to do. So right here, you're going to have a really shallow A-frame, just going up half a block each step of the way, using that smooth andesite. And you're going to fill in the wall with stone, which we will texture in later. So right here, I have a strip of, stripped log, just to add a tad bit of color to this really monochrome build. Having a tad bit of color to a very monochrome build really goes a long way, so I do suggest that you do this. Sorry for the tight camera angle, it's really hard to have a good look at this, but right here at the bottom, we're just gonna have a lining of andesite stairs and a simple doorway using some trapdoors, some stripped log, and those andesite stairs. Now at the top, I do make a little mistake here. I probably should have textured in this wall before adding that detail. And I do forget to texture in the wall above this line of spruce trap doors, but I'm pretty sure you guys get the idea. And the last thing you're gonna want to do is add some windows using design bars and have a lining of andesite, just to kind of split up the face of the build. And on the side, we're gonna have the same thing, a lining of andesite stairs, texturing in the walls, and adding some windows. Now, one thing I do have to say is there's always usually a fight between exterior and interior. Having a good looking exterior, but having like a reasonable interior layout, it's really hard to do. And usually I do sacrifice exterior over interior, but right here I try to have the windows at the same height just to make it easy to have a reasonable interior and not to make it look, all wonky. So let me guys know what you guys think. Exterior, interior. I personally choose exterior, but it's debatable, and I want to hear what you guys think. And on the back, it's very similar. You guys get the gist. Put the lining of andesite stairs, texture in the wall. You guys are pros at this by now, and adding a little detail as well as some windows. Now, one thing I forgot to add in the original time lapse was these little towers. And honestly, it's up to you if you like them or not. I like them because, again, it adds like another splash of color into this build. And when I looked up references of castles online, I saw many castles have these black tower kind of things. So I thought I might mimic it in my build. So really, it's up to you whether you like them or not. I'll add them, but it's up to you. So one thing we actually don't have yet is an entrance into our castle, and it's actually really hard to make an entrance that doesn't look like a mouth, and I think the key here is to keep it subtle, so that's what I'm going to go for. And the first thing you want to do is just punch out a hole in your wall and have a lining of smooth andesite that's 7 blocks wide, 7 blocks tall, with the corners punched out. You're gonna want to fix the wall behind it just so it connects nicely. Now, I'm going to use iron bars as the gate to the castle, and one thing I love is using the chains to look like it's holding up this gate. I think it's a really cool detail, and I think you're missing out if you don't use it. I add a little stone, smooth stone, to the bottom where the chain connects, just to make it look like it's anchored tightly. And I add some lanterns to the outside of our gate, as well as fix up the ground around it. Now, the final detail I love is to use the hoppers to look like the hole the gate slides into. Congratulations, you are almost done. But now it's time to add the final details that really bring a build to life. So as you might have noticed, we don't actually have any real doors, and honestly, you can use any design here. I just came up with the simple wooden design with a little overhang to protect workers from any rubble that might fall from above. So now it's time to texture in the pathways using smooth andesite, and stone bricks, like we have been doing. So one thing I suggest doing is have a little bit more smooth andesite to the sides of the pathway and kind of have it fade into the middle, and then texture in your rough andesite and some bricks afterwards, just to give it that extra bit of detail and have a natural integration between the wall and the pathway. You're also going to want to texture in the space between the building and the wall, using the same technique. Now, it's time to really decorate the hallways of this build, which really brings this castle to life. Make them feel like it's been lived in and there's actual purpose to it. So adding barrels and crates, having tap water and armor stands and weapons ready to go in case of a fight. This is the details that really bring a good build to a great build. Having some sort of action can really bring a build to life. Some techniques I love doing is having a barrel with a tripwire hook on a piece of scaffolding to look like a water dispenser. And you're going to add lanterns to light up your build, especially if you're in survival. That is an important thing to do. And also gives it an extra bit of color, as well as bring your build to life. Now, I am a big fan of using the new netherite armor just because it's a little more subtle than the diamond armor. So, if you're in survival, maybe not the most economic thing to do. You might probably want to use iron. But if you're in creative, go crazy, use your netherite armor. And here, I'm just lighting up the pathways using campfires on some scaffolding. Now right here, I am just texturing the top of our towers using the same technique. Now one thing you can do to differentiate the floors between the walls is use a different block to texture in. I suggest using cobblestone or like dead coral reef. It's a great block, and you can use it in the same way as the stone bricks and andesite. Now I really suggest that you add a flag to the build. It adds so much character and also gives another source of color. You can honestly use any color flag. I just chose red because it's my favorite color, but you can pick whatever color you want. You can even make a design in the flag. Go crazy, have fun with it. I do only add the flags to the first two towers just to kind of balance out the height difference between the back towers and the front towers. But if you want to add flags on all of the towers, you can do that. Now, I know this layout doesn't really make much sense. There's no actual ways to get up onto the towers. That's because I haven't done interior. So if you want me to do interior, let me know. But it's actually really simple. You can just add a staircase up onto the towers and to the pathways between them. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Now obviously we only did this part of the build and this tutorial, but let me know if you want me to do the rest of this, because obviously this is only a small part of a bigger project. And I know here I don't actually have the little details here because I'm still contemplating and designing what I would want for this, but I wanted to have an example in the video, so I kind of just do that up on the spot. But other than that, thank you for watching, and let me know if you guys want a part 2.